for me, these type of events have become a long time tradition because going back over 50 years ago, our scoutmaster, we had several of us in the band. They kind of put us together to form a little band for the FOS breakfast, and we played a few ditties for them, like a Hail, Hail, the game's all here, and all that kind of stuff. But these fundraisers are a great way that we raise money to help support our programs and the community. So, before we get started, I just want to thank everyone for being here, plus our event sponsors, particularly Columbia REA, Elliott Insurance, had several anonymous donors for our sponsors, and also quite a few others that have contributed in our little scheme on Tenderfoot level donors and that type of thing. And so we appreciate everyone. The number one thing is that we really recognize Sherwood Trust. They gave us a real boost a couple years ago with the funding, and we still enjoy that boost. And overall, they noted that we had a 7% growth in scouting in this community last year, so it's all coming together. Also, I want to thank Amy Rubio, our scout executive, who lives here in Walla, and Scott right here. He's our tech guy. They were here yesterday, and Amy's been working on the programs and everything else. So we thank them. Also, all the other people that are helping out today. Also, just a number one thing, that we have all the Eagle Scouts stand up real quick. Yeah, there we go. Got quite a few in here. Appreciate your service. And then I'd like to add is all the people that have been scout leaders and dead mothers and all that kind of stuff that goes way back. But why don't you have a stand, so we appreciate your service over the years. Might have been 50 years ago, but that's okay. All right, you sit down now. So now I'd like to turn the program to our master's ceremony, Addie Miller, which is going up here and get this thing going.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson, for that warm welcome. I'm Addie Miller, a scout with Troop 336, and I will be your MC this morning. Let us begin with a flag ceremony performed by Aria, Michael, Zane, Cooper, and Bo, some of our scouts with the local Pack 306, out of St. Paul's Episcopal Church.
Audience, please rise for the presentation of the colors. Color-guarded banners. Color guard, please post colors. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we will say the scout. As
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country and to obey the scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
scout. A
Scout
scout
is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
tip.
Thank you, Scouts. Please remain standing for the morning's invocation by Randall Willinger. Mr. Willinger joined Scouts in 1956, earned his Eagle as well as God and Country Awards, and served as Scoutmaster from 1974 to 1980. For over 40 years, he found service to others as a lay pastor, teacher, and associate in Christian education after many years of study. He currently attends the College Place Presbyterian Church, serving that role.
If I were to define scouting in its simplest, most basic terms, I could say that scouting is learning the basic needs and essentials for surviving in the wilderness. The earliest skills learned, camping and cooking and knot tying and compasses and all of that, are essential for survival in the wilderness of nature. One of the first things learned by a scout is the scout log. Just 12 words. The basic character needs to survive in the wilderness of society and the world. The most essential of all for survival in the wilderness of classroom or workplace or even climbing the highest mountains on earth are just 2 words of the Scout motto: be prepared. What could be more essential than that? In that same vein, simply stated essential needs. In 1929, A.J. Fulkerson, a Scout executive and camp director at Worth Ranch Scout Camp in Texas, wrote a prayer of thanksgiving to be used in his camp. It spread across all of Scouting in a few years and became known as the Wilderness Grace. In a few simple words, he identified the essential needs of every human being to survive the wilderness of everyday life. And he acknowledged the one, the only one, who provides for and meets those needs. So let us pray together the wilderness grace, which is supposed to be on the screen. Okay, then I will pray. Wilderness grace. For food, for raiment, for life, for opportunities, for friendship and fellowship, we thank Thee, O Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Bollinger. Up next, we will hear a few words from Brett Biden, Blue Mountain Council Scout Executive.
It's so good to be here in Walla. Thank you to all of you for being here this morning, and thank you to our Scout leaders in particular who make this program happen for our young people. At your tables, there's this little handout that I just want to mention a few things. I'm the Scout Executive for the Blue Mountain Council, headquartered in the Tri-Cities, but our reach goes to many communities throughout Northeast Oregon and Southeast Washington. And Walla holds a special place in our history as a council, as the council was formed here in Walla, and this is the heart of the Blue Mountain Council, with the blues right in your backyard. So, very special place for the Blue Mountain Council. This handout that's on your tables tries to explain a little bit about why and what is the Blue Mountain Council. A council exists to support local unions, to make sure that they have the programs and support that they need to deliver the mission of scouting for kids in the communities. But a lot of times people ask the question, well, what is a council? What does it really do? And so this handout tries to explain that why we exist. A couple of important things. Number one, first and foremost, the council exists to provide direct support to units, to help them deliver the programs that they're designed to deliver for Scouts. We also exist to market the program to the general community and provide communication and so that people know that Scouting exists. And that's always a challenge, especially in this noisy world of lots going on social media and everybody's wanting to get the word out. So it's a real challenge, but we're tackling that challenge, and I think we're doing a great job of getting the word out a little bit better than we have. We're involved in helping to make sure Scouting is always growing, and that the quality of the program that we have in our units is strong, and that kids are always flocking to join a new troop or a pack. And we're involved in helping to start new units. In fact, some of you might be aware that we have a new troop that was formed in Waitsburg. And so that's just an example of Scouting continuing to grow in our communities. The council exists to also make sure that the program is well funded, and we've got the funding necessary to support the program. And that's one reason we're doing an event like this, so that we can make sure that we've got the funds to support Scouting. And finally, there are resources that a unit may not have on their own to be able to deliver the program. So the council is involved in making sure that we can gather the resources to ensure Scouting is supported. And so the Blue Mountain Council is proud of the Scouting that we have here in the Blue Mountain Council. Troop 305 is it's a rock solid troop that it's been on the front cover of Scout Life magazine, and just is Scouting here in Walla Walla is strong, and we're very proud of the troop. But we've also got strong Cub Scout packs in Pack 309 and Pack 306, and another troop that we're very proud of, our new girl troop. I say new, but they've been around since the beginning, since 2019 when girl troops could form, and they have grown to be a troop that we're very proud of. And we've also got a unique exploring post here in Walla Walla with the Latino Club, and you'll get to hear from some of those participants. And so Scouting is strong here because the volunteers here value it, and as a council, we support and encourage and make sure that Scouting thrives. I want to introduce a special guest to say a few words this morning as well. Our council president, Gary Ash, who by day has a job like many of you, but by night and even interspersed throughout his day, he does a lot to support Scouting and make sure that we are able to deliver this program. Gary Ash, could you come forward, please, and share some of your thoughts with us?
Thank you, Brett. As the president of the council, I'm the volunteer who makes sure all the other volunteers are able to do the things that we call upon. You know, we have a small staff in our council. That council staff really is expanded by the use of volunteers. And all of you that are here today are a volunteer of some sort. You're either a volunteer directly with a unit, a den, or a troop, or an explorer post, or you're a volunteer through your financial giving. I wanted to just briefly talk about what it costs for Scouting. And I'm not talking about the direct cost that a Scout pays for such things as uniforms and equipment and weekend trips. I mean the effort that it takes to have the infrastructure of a council with staff that can lead the volunteers and help the volunteers do what we need to do with kids. For many years, I remember this myth at events like this. Someone would say that it costs about $225 per scout per year. And so when you consider sponsoring X number of scouts, well, that number is wildly, wildly low. Nationwide, the cost per scout of scouting is somewhere around $1,500. That is the amount of money that's required from donors such as yourself in order to make the program work. I'm pleased to say that we do much better than that in Blue Mountain Council. Our cost per scout is roughly $750. And in the association of similar councils throughout the Northwest, we're about number 3 in terms of efficiency of our budget. In that same council service territory, we have councils that are spending as much as $3,000 per scout, and we're roughly $750. Nationwide, of similar sized councils, that is, market areas of less than 100,000 people, we're ranked number 17. That's 17 out of about 50 different councils across the U.S. So I say that all to let you know that, number one, scouting is not cheap, and the reason that people are willing to pay the kind of money they are is because they know the impacts of scouting on kids. We watched someone like Abby lead us this morning, a junior in high school, and she has the kind of poise that we don't see for kids who aren't in scouting unless they're involved in a youth activity that gives them the opportunity to be leaders. So when you consider what you're giving today, I want you to keep in mind that it is really not about us as volunteer adults. It's not about staff. It's about the things that we can do to bring kids to maturity and leadership that they're not getting anywhere else. With that, I'll say thank you. And if we have an opportunity to meet afterwards, I'd sure like to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Biden and Mr. Nash. You're here to support a cause that is close to all of our hearts, and I'm thrilled to see so many of you here. I would like to share some of my own experiences and accomplishments with you all. I wanted to take the time to thank you all for coming here today and allowing me to share with my experience in the scouting world and just all the skills I've learned at large. When I was younger, I wanted to be in Scouts. I had a lot of friends who were in Scouts, and I wanted to try it for myself. My mom said she didn't want me in Girl Scouts. She wanted me to learn the things Boy Scouts had. Well, one day, in January of 2020, my long-time wish came true, and Troop 336 was born. As you can imagine, forming a troop was no easy feat, especially if your launch was March of 2020. But we stuck with it. The next 3 years, we spent learning skills that we still use today, such as shelter building, safety knots, and first aid. I would have never learned these skills without Scouts. Over a year ago, I was presented with the opportunity to join Order of the Arrow, which is represented by my sash here. OA is a brotherhood that you can be elected into by your troop and your leaders. It is a special organization for elite scouts to continue and grow in leadership. This year, my troop had the delight of welcoming my sister and the new wave of scouts who are now participating in the leadership circle. I am now preparing for my Eagle project this upcoming spring and continue my scouting adventures. In the years I've spent in Scouts, I have found a community that loves the thrill of adventure and trying new things. It is due to the efforts and support of volunteers and donors like you that make this all possible. Thank you for supporting my dream enough so that it can become a reality. Our next speaker is another kind of scout. She is an explorer with post 311 out of Walla High School, Exploring is a dynamic career exploration program for youth people aged 10 and 20, offering hands-on experiences and networking opportunities across various career fields. Participants gain valuable skills, build confidence, and connect with professionals and peers, all while having fun and discovering their future aspirations. Please welcome Ruby Nava, who will share some of her experiences as an explorer with Post 311.
Hello everyone, my name is Ruby. I'm currently a senior at Walla High School. I am here to talk about a little bit of Latino Club and a little bit about me and just how Latino Club has impacted not just our high school but the community and how it's made such a positive impact to myself and to other members as well. So first and foremost, Latino Club is one of the most popular clubs at Walla High. We are involved in a lot, not just in school, but outside of school. In school, we have things like the club fair, trunk or treat. We have this big event for Cinco de Mayo where we invite our families and friends, staff from school, and we give out food to them, and we have games, and just it's a really fun place to be with your family, and we just try to make it as fun and positive as we can. Outside of school, we do the AAUW book sale, so we help out to organize the books, take them out of the trucks, and put them in here. We also are part of all kind of parades, Christmas light parade, the fair parade, the Veterans Day parade. We, probably like a month ago or so, we did the cultural festival parade. We have just recently done our ofrenda for Dia de los Muertos at Walla High. We have also done sugar skull decorating during our lunches for that. So one of the main reasons why I think Latino Club is so important is because it really has made us feel more closer to our culture. I know that I felt very far from it, and joining this not only gave me friends, but it gave me the confidence that I didn't think I had. So for Latino Club, I'm actually the social media manager. So I've been doing this for 2 years now. I've been in the club for 4, been a leader for 2, and my job is kind of to keep students updated. I post events, dates. I kind of just try to post all the things that we do so that people can join and people can see how fun it is. We're honestly a giant family. I have really made close friendships with upper and lower classmen. I have been able to speak like I am today, and it's honestly, I think it's been one of the things I have been so proud of to be a part of. And for as myself, like I said, I am a senior in high school. I am already kind of planning on what I'm going to do after high school. I'm kind of thinking of going into nursing or surgical nursing. My plan is probably California State University in Long Beach. If that doesn't go as planned, my backups are Gonzaga, maybe Seattle University or UW. That's kind of it. That's all I have. I mean, kind of in a hurry today because I do have an ACT test. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you for sharing some of your experiences with us. Now, it is my great honor to introduce our keynote speaker for this evening, Mr. Brian Sheedy. He is a renowned adventurer and leader, and we are privileged to have him with us tonight. Mr. Sheedy's scouting journey began in Manila, New York, where he earned his Eagle rank in 1985 with Troop 97, the Manila Trackers. Along the way, he earned 5 Eagle palms and became a vigil member of Order of the Arrow. Mr. Sheedy's commitment to scouting extended beyond his youth. He participated in the 75th Silver Jubilee National Jamboree and later gave back by serving as a staff member and guide for Scouting My Adventure program. A mountaineer, educator, and leader, Mr. Sheedy spent over a decade guiding expeditions with the National Outdoor Leadership School, where he led treks across the U.S., Canada, and around the world. As an accomplished mountaineer, Mr. Sheedy has summited the 7 summits, including Mount Everest, twice, and led expeditions to both the North and South Poles. His leadership is both in the outdoors and within scouting. Is a true testament to the values of perseverance, teamwork, and service. Since 2001, Mr. Sheedy has served as the Outdoor Program Director at Whitman College, where he has grown the program into one of the best in Washington State, recognized for its excellence in outdoor education. Mr. Sheedy's leadership and passion for scouting, adventure, and service are truly inspiring. Today, as we gather in support of Scouting America, we are fortunate to hear from someone whose life has been dedicated to helping others reach their full potential, just as scouting does. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Brian Sheedy.
How slow I was walking at the end there is how slow you end up walking when you're on the summit of Everest or getting close to the summit of Everest. I've got a short, little less than 3-minute clip of summit day on Everest from my second expedition. And after that is done and you get a little bit of a taste for what it's like on summit day, then I'm going to talk more about the 7 summits and ski last degree expeditions to North and South Pole.
Saudi Arabian woman to Southern Everest. All right. So I'm going to talk about the Explorers Grand Slam, and that is a group of explorers that decide to do this challenge of climbing the highest peak on every continent, known as the Seven Summits, and also skiing the last degree of latitude to both the North and South Poles. So over the years, I've worked for the National Outdoor Leadership School, which brought me close to a number of the Seven Summits, and which allowed me to climb those. And then when I was at Whitman College, I had the opportunity when I was to go and climb Everest, and then I figured I might as well finish. And then I also guide for the past 18 years for Alpine Sense International, the Seven Summits company, and I am a guest guide in a number of other guide services. So Polar Explorers, you'll learn more about later. That's who I do ski guiding for. Oh, direction. Yeah, so highest peak on every continent. The Seven Summits is, sometimes people will consider 8, since the Kosciuszko in Australia is sort of quite out of character from several of the others. So Karsten's Pyramid in Papua New Guinea is sometimes considered by some folks to be on the list of the 7 summits. So I figured I'd do both, so I actually did 8. So what got me started? Scouting definitely gave me a foundation for mountaineering, guiding, and outdoor education, and I think I always liked doing things outdoors, and then scouting gave me opportunities to take more leadership and work with others, and that's what I still do today. I work with young folks at the college. I teach outdoor education skills. I like to say that we hook people with the idea of going on fun trips and do fun things, but I really teach life skills through the lens of outdoor education. And I think scouting does that as well. They sort of hook young people to do fun, cool things, get outdoors, away from screens, and then they learn a lot more about themselves and life skills that carry with them for the rest of their lives. Obviously, camping skills and outdoor skills, our troop, which has had a lot of dedicated volunteers, my father was one of them, made sure we got out every single month to camp, regardless of the weather. I remember camping in negative 20 degrees on many occasions. Because we would camp outdoors every month. So we got good at snow camping in the wintertime if you're in northern New York State. Wilderness first aid skills, rock climbing I got exposed to at scout camp, at Camp Sabatis in northern part of New York State at age 12, and that really hooked me. I got my Eagle Scout, Vigil Honor, 5 Palms, Founders Award, and did lots of hard things that took lots of years to accomplish in Scouts. And I think that set me on a path of setting goals that took years to accomplish and not being fazed by that in terms of just looking at it as one step at a time, one merit badge at a time. We would go to scout camp in the summertime at Sabatis as a troop for 1 week, and then the second week we would go to the high peaks in the Adirondacks in New York State and do 50 miles and start, there's 46 peaks in the Adirondacks that are over 4,000 feet. Half of them have trails and half don't. And we would just tick off a few peaks each summer. And then that got me hooked in terms of peak bagging. And by the time I was 15, I was a member of the Adirondack 46ers. The leadership gained in Scouts definitely has transferred to guiding. And then after I graduated from high school, and when I was in college, I worked as a guide at the Adirondack Treks Camp Massawee High Adventure Camp. So that's a photo from that, and I worked at the High Adventure Camp. So, photo of my dad, who, Scouts rely on volunteers, and we were fortunate to have a lot of parents that made sure that we got out and climbing mountains and doing things every month. So, I worked for Knowles. That took for many years all over the world, and that brought me close to a lot of the 7 summits, which I climbed while doing that. I've been to Denali on 10 different expeditions, 9 summits between 1994 and 2013. And I'll just give you a few pictures, a little glimpse of some of those expeditions. So here we are doing some rope travel, dragging our sleds behind us on this mountain. We spend a lot of time going up and dropping caches because it takes 3 weeks to climb the mountain. So you can't carry 3 weeks of food and fuel and climbing equipment all on your back at once. So you end up going up and down the mountain a lot. You pretty much climb the mountain twice. The only part that you do once is from high camp up to summit. Everything else involves a load carry and go back down, camp, and then move up to camp the next day. So getting around Windy Corner here, here's an example of some of our camps. Those little triangles are our cook shelters, which will pop up so that when we're operating our stoves and things, we can get a break from the wind. Above the 14,000 foot base camp, there's fixed lines. I think it's about 800 feet of fixed line that brings you up to the ridge that you'll then take up to high camp. Very cool ridge. Here's the Summit Day Ridge. Part of the Summit Day Ridge. And there's one of the summits. Denali's the highest peak in North America, 20,320 feet. Kilimanjaro, I worked in Africa for a year and a half in Knowles, and then went and climbed Kilimanjaro for the first time in 1995. It's actually the last one was 2022. So over the years, every few years I go and guide another expedition there. Here's from my first trip in 1995, much younger me. Here's in 2022 a trip that I was guiding for up on Ascents. Guided 4 different routes on the mountain. Lots of cool ecosystems that you get to go through while climbing that mountain. And there's the summit with 2 of the folks that I had on that trip. We had the pleasure of camping in the crater, which is a pretty special experience. And we're descending. You can barely see the summit or the crater camp right there. And there's a glacier still in the crater. Well, I don't know how much longer it'll be there, but that's it within the main crater. And then there's the ash pit inside the Rush crater, which is off to the side, which is active. Aconcagua is the highest peak in South America. And I've done 10 expeditions there. And 9 summits, so just like Denali. And that's the highest peak in the world outside of the Himalayas. And it is very close to the Chilean-Argentinian border, but it is definitely within Argentina. And most of the time, most of the expeditions I did, we were doing a traverse route where we would go up the Bacchus Valley and come out the Jorcones and sort of climb the mountain while traversing from one valley to another. So here we are starting in the Bacchus Valley, a little bit of a taste of going up that valley, one of our first glimpses of the mountain, Casa de Piedra Camp. Then we have to cross, we have to wade, oh, you didn't get to see that. There's a river that we have to wade that makes us quite cold. Here's base camp in Bacchus Valley with a helicopter coming in to take someone out that had a high altitude illness. So once again, this mountain, we're doing low carries up and down the mountain. Pretty much climbed the mountain twice, except for that last summit day, and here we are at the summit with this group. We did the false Polish route, and then we descended down the Jorcones Valley, and here's Plaza de Mulas base camp on the other side with nice alpenglow. And getting ready with the group for our 25-mile single day hike out. All downhill though, and with no pack, with no weight. The mules were carrying all of our stuff. All we had to do was carry some snack food, water bottles, and some layers. 2 trips to Everest, both times from the south side. So starting in Nepal and flying into Lukla and then doing base camp trek to Everest base camp and then starting the mountain from there. To climb Everest, it's a little about 2 weeks on the, little less than 2 weeks on the trek on in, and we passed through Namche Bazaar and some other Sherpa villages, and then sort of get up in the more high altitude terrain above the villages until we're eventually at base camp. There's a shot near base camp with the Kumbu ice fall behind. This mountain, you end up climbing it 3 times pretty much, except for just the last summit day. So as we sort of work to get our bodies acclimatized, to build red blood cells. So the whole, pretty much these trips take 2 months. So I'm working with a group for 2 months, and pretty much every day is just sort of being the chief medical officer in a way, and also the chief cheerleader, and doing lots of teachable moments and helping people learn what things to do at the right time. Here's the Kumbu ice fall. There's lots of different names within the ice fall. This particular area is in what we call the popcorn. To get across a lot of the crevasses, we have to put ladders in place. Get pretty good at walking across ladders with crampons on. And some of them, are 3 or 4 ladders lashed together wide. And when you get in the middle of one of those, then they really start to shake and rattle. But once again, you do it enough times, you get used to it, you get better at it, and get more confident, just like lots of things in life. Camp 2, at the base of the Lhotse face. This is like 22,000 feet. This is like being at the summit of Chicago, but we're at base camp. Getting ready to go up the Lhotse face. Fixed lines going all the way up that face. That have to get set each season. Here I am at the Yellow Band. Yellow Band's pretty interesting because there's fossils in the rocks in the Yellow Band, because this was all uplifted when the Indian subcontinent smashed into Asia. So for geologists, that's sort of a dream place to be. Here we are at South Call, very windy place, and Summit Day. And Summit. Mount Elbrus is considered the highest peak in Europe. It's actually in Russia. It's the only one of the 7 summits that I need to do a second time, and if I do this one a second time, I will climb the 7 summits twice. But the political situation with folks going to Russia right now is not going to work so well. Summit day on Elbrus. Mount Vinson is in Antarctica. That's the highest peak in Antarctica. That trip is usually between 2 and 3 weeks long. We take off from Punta Arenas in Argentina and then land on blue ice in Antarctica, and the logistics are handled for that transport handled by the LE Antarctica Logistics and Expeditions. And yeah, they charter Russian Aleutian Isle 76 each season, military transport plane to sort of help with those logistics. And then they have a number of otters that are ski equipped. So we sort of, at base camp, will shift over to the ski equipped otters and then fly another hour into base camp. Once again, doing lots of load carries up and down this mountain. That's the trend on all these mountains. Very surreal place. Just sort of granite peaks popping out of glaciers. And it can get very cold. So no skin exposed there. We got pinned down for 3 days and couldn't move because the temperatures didn't get above -40. So -40 plus wind chill is, we do skin damage, and it's even also, it's hard on the lungs too. So we're breathing through fabric and materials to help warm the air a little bit, and also to, as we exhale, to trap some of that moist air so that our lungs aren't taking in stinging cold air. And also just, it will get warmer. When I say warmer, I mean to -20. There's a huge difference between -20 and -30, and yet another huge difference between -30 and -40. And then below -40, you don't want to be in that. You just sit in your tent and wait for it to warm up. And it gets warm enough at times that, where it's only 10, maybe 10 below, or 0. Boom! You can expose your face for short periods of time for a picture and then pull things back up. High camp is at 13,350 feet on that mountain. And here we are with a summit photo of the 2005 expedition. And then we went to Australia, or I went to Australia and invited my dad along. To sort of walk up the last of the 7 summits, which is very easy and has a nice path that goes all the way up there. It's only a little over 7,000 feet high. It was a nice one to finish on. And turn that into a vacation and went scuba diving on Great Barrier Reef. I mentioned that there were 8 peaks. For the 7 summits, since some people Karsten's Pyramid in western Papua in there, that has the highest peak in Oceania. That peak is a rock climb, which is pretty cool. And we had a combination of fixed-wing aircraft and then helicopter to eventually get to base camp. And base camps was somewhere around 12 or 13,000 feet up near this glacial tarn, and there's the climb. That's what we're about to climb. A lot of fixed lines on it as well. The rock climbing doesn't really get above 5.5, but interesting Tyrolean traverse. We crossed this big gap. So yeah, I want to be there. So, good sort of mental test there, mental and physical test. Good trust, learn to trust your equipment and systems. We did the whole climb in the rain. I was getting drizzled on and in fog the whole time we did this climb. But that's, you deal with what you get dealt. And yeah, a lot of these guys are really good friends of mine, and we climbed a lot of the 7 summits together. I still keep in touch with them. And then for the Explorers Grand Slam, the ski the last degree expedition to the South Pole is part of it, and there I am at the South Pole. And then, and here's sort of the ceremonial South Pole in this picture spot. And there's a U.S. base, Scott base, that's at the South Pole too. So we ski 60 nautical miles to to the South Pole, and then once we're at the South Pole, there's a maintained airstrip there that we're able to then fly back to the main base that ALA operates elsewhere in the continent. It is a very large continent. So, North Pole expedition, yeah, based out of, we started in Norway and then flew up to a floating ice base on an Antonov, a Russian plane that does well in cold temperatures. And here's the ice base that was maintained by the Russians. And yeah, we then get helicoptered and transported from that ice base to 89 degrees north latitude to start the ski the last degree for the North Pole. Now, the North Pole is interesting in that, yeah, we get transported, we get dropped, and then they pretty much immediately hunker down and take off. And then you start, you're out, and it's just completely quiet, middle of nowhere. And remember, we're on pack ice that's floating, and the winds are affecting us. So I've got a combination of compass and GPS, but mostly two different GPSs, and we're navigating with our GPS going towards the South Pole, or the North Pole, and we're having to constantly take in weather reports and anticipate where the pack is moving, so that we can maybe cut the corner. So if we just follow exactly, then we'll do this like big arc because things are moving. But sometimes if we can anticipate what's happening with the ice pack that we're on, we can sort of cut the corner. And then, direction. Yeah, so actually this trip was interesting. We only had one client. So it was me and one other guy and one client. So Annie Atkins is on the right there. She's a full-time guide for Polar Explorers, which is the guide service that I was doing some guest guiding with on this trip. And here we are. We know that we're at the North Pole because our GPS finally shows us that we're right there. However, we had to keep moving in order to keep the GPS on there because the whole ice pack is moving. See, so it is constant, like, it'll only read this for maybe a minute, and then we'll have to move a few feet because it keeps moving. So, just looking for Santa. Yeah, so, and it's actually bumpier going to the North Pole because all the compression ridges of the ice pack. It's actually much smoother being up around 9,000 feet on a plateau in the South Pole the whole time going into the pole. And that is the Adventure Grand Slam. And yeah, I've done a lot of those more than once, and you know, the first time the challenge was for me to do it myself, And then other expeditions, the challenge was to help other people succeed and reach goals that they had, and sort of gain an appreciation for these beautiful places that we have on this planet. Yeah, so thank you for letting me speak today. I'm not sure what's next.
Thank you for that speech. It was really fascinating, and I commend you for your determination and perseverance through all of those. As we reflect on the stories that have been shared, I hope you can feel as inspired and excited as I do. Our next speaker is Tim Neely. Mr. Neely is a volunteer with Troop 305 and a member of Order of the Arrow. He's a Wood Badge certified and currently serves as district representative, coordinating Eagle Scout project board reviews. Tim has been with Troop 305 since his son Dawson crossed over in 2012. Dawson earned his Eagle Scout in 2018. As an assistant scoutmaster, Tim led the first Troop 305 patrol trek over 50 miles at Philmont, where he and the scouts faced challenging conditions. Although, as Tim will admit, he was the one who found it terrifying at the top of the mountain. With over 30 years in the veterinary industry, Tim is passionate about leadership and coaching others to do their best. He is proud of his son's Eagle achievement and is excited to talk with you about how you can support the Blue Mountain chapter. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Tim Neely.
Good morning, thank you, Eddie. Well, I want to start this morning by getting everybody up out of your seat. We're going to do a little exercise here. Seeing Brian walk that fast reminded me of going out to the mailbox. But so I want you to do one thing for me. On your table, there's a pin. So I want you to pick that pin up off the table, and I want you to click it. Get your thumb warmed up. Everybody got their thumb warmed up? All right, then I want you to go into your pocket, find your checkbook, and get that check out and look at it. Get those arms stretched out and get it put right out in front of you, all right? Once we've got that done, hopefully we are prepared for the next few minutes here, all right? I wanted to thank you this morning for this wonderful opportunity to spend some time with friends, fellow scouters, and community members. We're all gathered here for really the reason that we're gathered here for, right? Which is scouting and the benefits that scouting plays in the lives of our youth, and we see that every day through their actions. And it's exemplified it this morning with the poise and the commitment that Addie has showed to mastering us through this ceremony. But as I was putting my thoughts together, and darn, he snuck out the back door, I had to chuckle to myself a little bit about being the one to deliver this appeal. And especially this appeal message to you when the one who called me and texted me and asked me is really the master of this skill. And basically, Mr. Warden, who left, and I chuckle about this all the time. We're like, whenever Mr. Sutlick calls, whenever Mr. Sutlick texts, you cannot say no. So I want you to remember that as we go through this morning. You cannot say no to Mr. Sutlick. Mr. Sutlick brought me back into scouting after Dawson had aged out, and I kind of got going and doing other things. And so, Mr. Sutlick, I'd like to say thank you for calling on me. So in a recent MSN.com Monday magazine article that Mrs. Neely found, and she sent it to every 22-year-old Eagle Scout college graduate kid that she knew. There's some really interesting findings that they're finding. They're finding that 3/4 of companies surveyed said that some or all of their recent graduates hired were unsatisfactory in some way. The employers gripe with young people today in their lack of motivation and initiative. 50% of leaders surveyed cited that this is one of the reasons why the kids don't work out as a new hire. Leaders say that they've struggled with this latest generation's tangible challenges, including being late for work. Can anybody imagine that? I don't know if there's any true 305ers in here, but late or on time is what? It was late, right? So we go 15 minutes early, be 15 minutes early. And they're late for meetings. They're often not wearing appropriate clothing. Can you imagine showing up to a scout event without appropriate clothing? And then using language and not being clean in their manner in a way that they should. So I think it's very key, and it's been wonderful having Mr. Sutton bring me back in, and Mr. Warden's gotten to experience a lot of this in the last 18 months or so here. We've had the opportunity to do that final board review for these Eagle Scout candidates, and seeing them grow from the little scouts that we see here today to youth and future leaders that is really incredible to see. So as you know, scouting is more than just badges. It's just more than campfires, and it's really about instilling a responsibility of teamwork and resilience in these youth. I personally believe that scouting is really about creating a growth mindset, and you see that with Brian here, with Mr. Sheedy here. It created a growth mindset to go, who could ever think, I'm gonna climb everything there is to climb in the world. I'm gonna go anywhere that is as hospitable as could possibly be. And that comes from that growth mindset. It's about gaining confidence. And Addie is getting to away from today with so much more confidence than she's may have had, but it seems like she's kind of got confidence down. And to grow and increase through failing fast. And I think, and we see today, in today's world of sports and athletics, where youth are taught this big fear of failure, right? If I don't do it perfectly, I'm gonna struggle, and I'm gonna be sitting on the bench, and that's where it is. And that's, for me, that was one of the, because I grew up on that side of things. I didn't know about scouting really until Dawson got into it, because again, Mr. Sutlick, because he couldn't say no to Mr. Sutlick either. But it's really about that process of trial and error, and looking at it from the standpoint of where can I grow, and what can I do from that, and really see that is one of the only, scouting is really only one of the only places that youth get that in today's world, right? That they can go out, do it wrong 3 times, do it wrong 8 times. I still can't tie a bowline. I don't know how I passed the assistant scoutmaster testing, right? But doing that, learning through that process. And so as we look at this morning, I want us to imagine, as we heard this morning, the cost that it takes, the investment that we're actually making in our youth, and the savings that we're actually providing to society by doing what we're doing in supporting scouting. And this morning, again, like I said before, we cannot say no to Mr. Sutlick. So, as we would, your donation this morning, no matter the size, directly impacts the lives of scouts. It helps us cover the costs of programming and many of the things that have been outlined here today. So if you can imagine a future where we're creating together, the future that we're creating together, imagine the difference that we're making by investing in these young lives. Giving them the opportunities to learn, grow, to lead, you can be a part of that change. It's a critical change that we see as we hear what the ramifications have been. So this morning I'd like to invite you, and again, remember that Mr. Sutlick said so, and you can't tell Mr. Sutlick no. So if you would, please join Sarah and I in pulling out your checks and filling out your pledge documents and giving to Scout. And thank you very much, and again, appreciate you finding this is a spot to give your time and treasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Neely, for that appeal, and I agree with you that you cannot tell Mr. Sullivan now.
Just wait on Mr. Ann.
Thank you to all of our speakers for their inspiring words today. As we move on to the end of our program, we want to extend our deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for your support. As a special thank you to the Blue Mountain Council staff and volunteers for their efforts in putting the breakfast together. Thank you to Columbia, REA, and to our Anonymous Eagle sponsors. Your generosity goes a long way in supporting Scouts. Thank you to Tenderfoot sponsors, Lloyd Insurance, Bob Fontenot, Mark Hendricks, Cammy Panther, and Al Sedlick, for their kindness, generosity, and commitment to youth and community. Together we can make a difference. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for